Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me, those who had decided to take the time out of their busy days and do this. My name is Diane Dixon. I am actually the person behind ShePrompts. I have ShePrompts on YouTube, and I have a few other channels as well as my Facebook page. So if you are joining me from either one of those or any of those, I really appreciate it. Believe me, I appreciate it. It's been a morning, people, but you know what? Despite the hardship, we go forward. So this morning, I wanted to actually talk to you guys about newsletter, and I do have a Q&A on my screen right here that basically says for anybody who's interested um, in participating, give me an idea of how much, or if you have a newsletter, and approximately how much you pay per month. And I'm talking about, of course, the hosting amount, but also about maybe some other expenses that might go into it that maybe you might not have considered. The reason why I am very interested in sharing this topic with you guys is because last year I had actually started the process of doing my own thing with no hosting fees, and building my own site. I bought my name, I bought the URLs that I needed, but financially speaking, I was in a situation where I was on a platform. It was a platform that it was a free platform. And all of a sudden, I was off the platform. No explanation. So when I decided, that was the moment that I kind of said, okay, if they can take away whatever I'm doing and this is free, you can imagine what it would be like if other people had their stuff on a pay platform, all of a sudden lost access, and what were they going to do? Now, it's not that extreme. They're going to give you time, hopefully, but it's one of those things where if you have your own place to do something, it's easier for you to, well, you can be calmer. It's not going to be, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge once you get started, but once you get your groove and you start getting things moving, it's going to be a lot more fun, and you'll understand how valuable it is to own your own pace, your own space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be showing you today the face of what I'm doing as far as creating your own newsletter for $0 hosting, which means you don't necessarily need Mailchimp, Kit, or Constant Contact, or all the others that are out there, unless you want to use them. But you can actually create your own newsletter with the use of AI. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I'm going to go through a window, and I believe this is it right here. So I'm going to share my screen. Now, one of the tools that I am using is called Emergent. I hope you guys can see that. For example, if any of you guys have any problems, if you guys can see everything, just go ahead. If you can, give me a 1 in the chat, and I would appreciate it. If you can hear me and everything, because I've had problems, unfortunately, with people not hearing me, but I think my audio is pretty good, but I could be wrong. So if anything. All right, so now I'm in Emergent. If you have never used Emergent before, or any either what they call vibe coding tools, it's really easy to use. But having said that, it is a bit deceptive, because while you can come up with something and tell it what you want it to do, you want to be very mindful about what you're saying. And because everything that you say in Emergent is going to cost you money. So that's why I'm passionate about vibe coding and Emergent, but I'm also passionate about making sure that everybody kind of saves a little bit of money on the side and make sure that their money doesn't get drawn out very quickly. So if you're going to create your own um, newsletter, I do have a prompt here I have created, and I'm going to be sharing it. I'll tell you about that in a second. But the prompt is this. It's basically just telling Emergent, give you the layout, and it's a very simple layout. The serif typography, the functionality, and it's going to be, first name, last name, and email input fields. Now, you have, as I said, everything in Emergent costs you money. So for this one, it's like, I think $20 for 100 credits. But when you first start creating something in Emergent, it takes up a lot of those credits. So you need to have enough credits that you're going to actually get something done. So this is very simple. So I'm going to actually go ahead and put it in, and it's going to run this for me. And along the way, it may ask me, you know, what else do I need, or what else do you want me to put in here, or it may ask me clarifying questions. And it's very good that way. But if you're going to create anything in Emergent, be careful to, as I said, do something efficiently. Ah, see, it's already there. And see, it already has questions for me. So we have, what's a newsletter topic or niche? Okay, so in this case, because I'm going to be, let's go do tech. And there are 4 questions. The logo, placeholder, brand name. Use a placeholder like the dispatch. Okay, that works fine, just for the sake of that. And here's where it says also send confirmation email, store in MongoDB. MongoDB is a type of database that it works with. It also works with another database called Superbase. And this is just where it holds all the information. It's your own accounts. You can basically go in there whenever you need to extract any kind of emails from there. You can go in there. It's completely yours to work with. Use professional placeholder content. I'll provide content later. Okay, let me go through all these questions. Logo placeholder, you can provide your own. If you already have something, you can actually just upload it in there. Okay, so I think we've answered all the questions that I need to answer. And it is good. So let's go ahead and submit. So if it needs clarification, it will ask you all those questions to begin with. And then it'll add the final touches. And depending on how intense your prompt is, it can take a bit of time. But what I was saying before is that if you want to do something a little bit more economical, what you can do is you can actually discuss it with your favorite AI. For example, I use Gemini. I may use Claude from time to time. I also use DeepSeek and Perplexity. I don't use ChatGPT too much. Long story on that one. But basically, what you want to do is you want to say in like your favorite platform, I want to create this in Emergent. I want to make sure that it is token efficient, that I don't wind up taking out my credits, drawing down my credits. So this is what I'm going to be doing. So can you give me an efficient way to input this in Emergent? And the reason why I would choose Gemini specifically for this is because Emergent was actually it was actually built by people from Google. So it works really well with Google products. So Google Gemini would be a perfect way to do that, because it'll tell you a little bit more, okay, based on this, Emergent will do this, and it actually is pretty accurate. So with this one, let's see, and it gives me an idea. The agent is asking a question. Okay, now this is another piece here, APIs. I go into this in a document I'll tell you all about later, but whenever you're creating anything with regards to sending information back and forth, you need something called an API key. It's basically like, you know, how you put your key in a door. This is the key to get into, say, you know, the door for Brevo, to make sure that you have that conduit ready. So it's going to ask you, before I build, I need your resend API confirmation email feature, a sender email, plan summary. The back end is already being, if you skip, I'll go with option 1B, no email for now. So for right now, I'm going to go with plan B. Because it is going through that whole process does take, it requires for you to see a little bit more private information. And actually, let me go ahead and try that. So let me go into resend just to give you guys something. Let me try resend API key. So here's the resend is the application that it recommended for you to use. So you can go through and you can create a resend account. I think I do have one. And here on the resend, it'll actually tell you, okay, what is an API key and all this other stuff, and how do you do that? And it goes through all the technical information. So if we're going to go through and let me go back for a second and just create an API key. All right. So it'll go through the process here and it'll tell you all that, and then it'll go list API keys and all that. So let me go and sign. I've never, I don't think I've really even played around with this. So let's go ahead and play around with it. Oh, I do have an account. I had forgotten. So here I do have my API keys. Let me see. Okay, so I do have API keys here. So what you do is you create an account, you go into API keys and you create an API key here. It's not going to cost you anything. Um, it does have a free account, so you can go ahead and play with that. So let me go ahead and create another API key just for fun. Full access, test, newsletter, no domains. So I've just copied it to my clipboard. And again, it tells you that you can only see the key once, so store it safely. So just an FYI, whenever you're doing anything with API keys, never ever put it into a general, like a generative API. For example, don't put it in Claude, don't put it in Gemini, don't put it in ChatGPT. The reason is because that stuff can be scraped, and any of that personal information, if it's still active and valid, somebody can get their hands on it and use it and rack up some money on your account. So make sure that you keep your API keys safe. If you have API keys and not using them, deactivate them, or just delete them altogether, just to make sure. But in this case, I'm actually going to use these resend API. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just using it for this, so I'll more than likely just delete it. And it's going to take that information and it's going to build up with it. And if it needs to ask me any other information, it'll do so. But as it says, it's tightening the screws, it's doing all the final touches, and it's running. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Awesome. So yeah, so what we have here, as I've said, if do you have any questions so far on the process of using Emergent? And again, Emergent is just one. There are quite a few out there. I've heard of Hercules. I know that Make and Lovable. I'm not sure. I've never used those, but Emergent is the one that I found that did the front end and back end, which means it's what you see, and then the back end is what it holds behind it. So you have a full, what they call a full stack operation with Emergent. And I think you have that also with Hercules. I'm not sure. Um, but if you have any questions with regards to what I'm showing you, of course, let me know. And I will most likely, I'll most definitely see if I can address them quickly. So I think it is still working in. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to pronounce your name. Aman Kawaja. Can you give me an idea of where you are? If I'm sorry if I butchered your username. I greatly apologize. Oops. Okay. All right. Emergent is still working. Damn. Okay, Emergent is still working. It takes a bit of time, people, but it does really produce some great results. So I'm going to go back here and you can see here when its agent's running, when the agent is done running, it'll give you like a little ping. So if you're not looking at the computer and you hear that ping, you know that the agent is done. It's very odd. It's both auditory and visual. Okay. So it's setting things up. It'll go through all of this really long dialogue of what it wants or what it will be doing. It's very verbose in that way, as they say. So it's initializing right now, so it'll let me know whenever it is done. Okay. So, and in going through this as far as for the newsletter, I just want to mention that you anybody can do this as well for your own site in general. In fact, let me show you my site while this is working. Let me go ahead and show you my site and just give you a little bit of an understanding of what I have done here with it. Now, this is my site. It's actually completely built between me and AI. In fact, there are a couple different AI platforms that I used for it. Now, I have the browse articles. It's like I said, it's a very simple site. It wasn't meant to be something absolutely ostentatious. I just wanted something simple. And I had initially wanted it to be like a little simple site, a little quick site, but it turned into something else. I do have like it's not like a newsletter, but it is a bit like a newsletter here. I do have like my products for sale, so it's located at ShePrompts.com. And believe me when I say I went through a lot to get with this, because when you're dealing with um, a site where you're building it and it was actually with another host, and I decided not to do that host, it opened up a little bit of a challenges when it came to me just trying to find, okay, this site is being looked at over there when it's really over here. So it opened up a little bit of, I had a lot of learning to go through with it, but I built a serious amount of pages in here. I have my newsletter, and I'll go into that in a second. But it's one of those things where you can even build your own site, and I don't pay any hosting on this. I pay zero hosting. I'm hosting it myself. All I needed was my name, and I needed a couple of different platforms that would actually help me work free. And one of the platforms that I use is Firebase. Now, I did a Spark plan, which is how you start, and it's still zero per month. But what I found is that while it was great, I needed to do something a little bit more advanced. So I kind of upgraded to the Blaze plan. I'm still not paying anything because the Blaze plan is also incredibly generous. It's no cost services, no quota, you pay as you go. So I haven't really passed the threshold. I think the threshold is like 10 gigabytes per month, which I am not anywhere near there. And then once you do that, then you pay, I think, 20 or 15 cents per gigabyte or something like that. So if you pay zero on the Spark, more than likely, not more than likely, you will pay zero on the Blaze plan. The Blaze plan gives you access to like AI, to Gemini. And I host all of my apps here, as you can see. I won't go into any more detail, but I do host a lot of my stuff on Firebase. And to the day, I have not paid anything on there. So the only thing I have to basically work with is if I use my APIs for, if I'm using, Perplexity or whatever API, I'll pay for that, which I haven't really used that. Or if I really that's hosting is gone, and I just have to renew my username, my URL every year. So that's basically my expenses as so far. So if you're looking to do something beyond just a newsletter, or if you want to just try, but it does take a little bit of work, you can go ahead and try and do Firebase. It's really easy. Now, if you're going to work with Firebase, I suggest to use Gemini on Firebase. One of the reasons why you want to do that is because while it is base Gemini, it is not the same as the Gemini you get on your phone or on your desktop. This is Gemini specialized for Firebase. So if you have any problems with Firebase, you go in here and you ask, this is the error message that I got. This is what I'm going through, and it'll guide you through how you can correct that. So like I said, it does have a Gemini base, and that's the same with other Google products. They have Gemini as their base, but a lot of them are specialized towards a particular platform. There's a G Cloud Gemini, there's the Firebase. There's even a Gemini for your email if you have a Gmail account. So it's one of those things where if you have the chance to kind of work with an AI, with any kind of an AI on a site, I would work with it on the site because it is trained specifically to handle any problems on that site. Whereas your Gemini that you use on your phone is just for general inquiries. And, it may give you some idea of how to do something specifically on Firebase, but believe me when I say you're better off just using Firebase. Now, as you can see, Emergent is still working. It is very intensive, but it looks really good so far. This is the mock-up. Okay, this is the mock-up of the site so far. And you can see here it says join the list, free no subscribe news free no spam unsubscribe anywhere. And this is kind of, like I said, it's a very simple and a very basic site. I didn't want to do anything too extensive. And as you can see, it is testing the agent right now. It's running. And I kind of like this. This is a really elegant looking newsletter site. But again, if you have any questions about what you're seeing now, please let me know in the chat. Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. So if you have any other, and I think one of the questions I also wanted to ask, if anybody is interested in answering, is what are you guys, I'm actually going to put it in the chat, like what other, how are you using AI and how would you like to use AI? Because what are you wanting to see AI do for you? Because while I'm in me talking to a lot of different people, I'm seeing that a lot of people want to use AI, but they're like, I don't know if it can do this. And I think one of the reasons, again, why I'm doing this is because a lot of people weren't sure if they could do something with a newsletter. And I'm surprised to find out a lot of people don't know that they can actually host their sites and host their newsletters and all that stuff for no hosting fees. So it's one of the reasons why I chose to do this on this topic, but I wanted to get an idea of what you guys think. Okay. All right. Okay, so let me go through. And if anybody is interested in on Facebook, and this is pretty much on Facebook, if anybody is interested in the emergent code that I have on there, on Facebook, you can go ahead and type the word face on the, just type a word face in the chat or in the comments, and I'll get back to you and send that to you. For those on YouTube, I will paste a link because what I'm using, the platform I'm using, I'm still new at it and it's pretty cool, but it doesn't really interact too much with YouTube for some reason. So for Facebook people who want, let me put this in here, who want the exact code, I'm using an Emergent right now. Go ahead and type and just put the word face in the comments. The reason is because there are three parts. There's the face, there's the brain, and then there's the actual pipe. That's the way I kind of came up with a concept in the comments. Okay. For all others, I'm going to go ahead and put in, hold on. Okay, for all others, this is mostly for those on YouTube. You can download the code I'm using here free. And I'm going to do that also for okay. And I'm going to actually share that code also. I think there's some of you on my ShePrompts, and then there's some of you on Build Your Own AI. So for those of you who build your own AI, here is the free code that I'm using here, on Emergent. Okay, great. So you guys have that. So again, for those on Facebook who are joining me on Facebook, go ahead and please put the word face in the comment, and I'll send you a copy of that. Okay. Now, as I've said, Emergent is still going. Hold on a second. Emergent is still very much going, and it is very intensive and specific about what it's doing, and it's actually testing it. So what it does is that it actually goes through the process, just to throw something in there. It goes through the process of creating code and then giving it a little bit of a test. And then once it's done, you can actually go ahead and run the test agent one more time just in case. It'll take 2 or 3 credits if you want to do that. I recommend if you're doing something very intense that you actually just spend the credits to do that. But really and truly, Emergent, I found, is just, I like it a lot. It's a very cool platform. I have built a lot of prototypes on it. And whenever I can, I wind up using it because it helps me to kind of think things through and how I want things to look. And it actually gives me, unbeknownst to me, gives me some really elegant stuff like this right here. And that, if you heard that little noise, that means that it is ready. So I'm going to open the preview of this. Oops, hold on a second. Okay, this is the app, as I mentioned, this is the app preview. It's giving you the whole thing. And you can test it, and you can put in your first name, last name, and then put in, for example, test, test the test. Okay. So it already filled that out for me, and then you can go ahead and join the list. And that's something that's already built in for you because you use the recent API that you created, and then you can go ahead and leverage that. Now, if you want to deploy this, you go ahead and deploy it, but just know that it takes 50 credits per month to keep it running. So that's another thing with Emergent, is that if you want to deploy something, it takes 50 credits per month. Now, back to my site. This is actually what I created. I kind of created a little bit of prototype in Emergent, and I moved it over to just a regular AI. And right now, what I do is I basically click on this to subscribe. They put in their first name, last name, email address, and then let me see, just to give you guys an idea. Let me see what's a test. This is my other email. And when you subscribe, right, it'll come up for a few minutes. Then when I check my other email, just to give you guys an idea, let me see, email. Give me a second. Go mail.google. You should get a message. Hold on a sec. So here's the message that you'll get. And then once you say, yes, subscribe me to the list, it should put you straight onto the site. So that's the way I set up my email and my newsletter within Emergent to start, just to give me an idea. And then I actually took it off and did it my own. So this is something that, anybody, any one of us can do. And it's something that is very, I think it's very needed, because you never know when you are going to be kicked off of a platform. They have in their contract that they can kick you off anytime. If you look at the terms and services contract, if you actually read it, they can actually kick you off of whatever platform, that whatever you're on, at any time without notice in some cases. And all that stuff that you may have gathered, whether it be followers, whether it be email addresses that you hosted on that, you have to find some other place to put that, or you may lose it altogether. So you want to be very mindful about where you're going to create your stuff and how you're going to create it, and really and truly come up with something that you can do on your own. So one of the things I like to do is I like to create blueprints for people. And I have done that here. What I actually have here is, hold on a second. So what I have is a blueprint that'll help everybody it'll give you the nitty gritty. It's what I've gone through in order to get my site or my newsletter up and running. You can even use it for your own site. And what I have done is that I've actually created it, and it's just $7 on Gumroad. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in, for anybody who's on Facebook. So I'm going to put in for Facebook. For anybody who's on Facebook, just type newsletter in the comments, and I'll send I'll send you that link. I'll send you the link to that. For Facebook, I'm just going to put in the direct link, and then you guys can check it out. But this is something, it goes through, I have screenshots in there. It covers as much as I can remember about the process that I had to go through in order to create my newsletter. And I put in there, some of the learnings, some of the errors I've gotten. So it does have a complete, as complete as I can get it, so I can remember, just give you an idea of what's to be expected. And I put in there prompts that you can use. And I even put in there some Firebase training. If you decide to use Firebase, there are plenty other options that you can use. And I even put in the I even put in the information that you need in order to connect the two. Because while we went into Emergent is like the face, the UI of it. Then you have if you want to do Firebase, you can do that, or if you can do it on Emergent, no problem. But in order for you to create something, if you're outside of Emergent and you want to create something that connects, you need a pipe. And that pipe, in the case of the blueprint that I have, is an application called Brevo. Again, it has a free version that is pretty generous. I think it's 300 emails per day. I'm not at that point yet. Let me see. So let me check out, let's see, Brevo. So Brevo is one of those applications. Let me see, brevo.com. So you can sign up, anybody can sign up for Brevo. It's sign up for free. And here's the price for Brevo. Is going to be, free until that you can go beyond 300 per day. So see all the features. And there's a starter that I think 5,000 emails per month. So if you have more than 5,000 people, of course, or if you have 5,000 people, you can do that. If you have more than 5,000 people, it's $16. But one of the things that I like about this is that you can definitely take a look and see 300 per day for a single user, and limited up to 2,000 contacts. You can use it until you reach that point. And by then you can upgrade to about $8 per month. So that's what I have discussed and I go into detail about where you need to go, because they started a new site, or they did a new site. So things are kind of in a different place. But in my blueprint, I went through all of that and I discussed all of that. So for those, again, if you are interested in that blueprint, go ahead and put newsletter in the comments on Facebook. And for those on in YouTube, I will put up and pin the URL for that, and you can take a look at it for yourself. So again, I'm not going to deploy this because I've already kind of gotten my own, I've got my own stuff going. But just to give you guys an idea, let me see how much I have here. I think the way this is set up, and unfortunately, Emergent used to show me all the different credits that I had. Apparently, they've stopped doing that for some reason. So I've got about 93 credits left. So this took a little bit less than I thought because it's very simple. But if you're doing something more intensive, it is definitely going to cost you more credits when you start. And each time you decide to do that, you can go ahead and it's going to work on your credits. And if you decide to host, it's going to do that. Or you can just start with a prototype here and then move to something on Firebase and then come up with something on your own. So let me see, are there any questions so far? Let me take a look. Okay, so on Facebook, I'm going to go ahead again. Type newsletter in the comments if you want the full, it's called a private press blueprint, and I will definitely send you that inbox, send you that DM for that product. Private press blueprint. Host your own site, newsletter or site. And then I will definitely just send the link to you guys. If you have any questions, again, if there are any questions, I see some of you, I don't know if I'm not reading it probably, but there are some of you that are definitely quiet, which I appreciate. And if you have any other questions, of course, pop them in the chat, or if you just, you're just here browsing, not a problem. Okay. All right. So guys, if there are no questions, or if you have something, feel free to comment on this. Of course, I'll be putting this up. And if you have something comes to you as you're doing this, go ahead and put this up and I will definitely get back to you guys as soon as possible. But if there are no questions, I'm definitely just going to end it for today and let you guys get back to your day. Thank you so much for your time. And I will definitely be doing this a few more times because this is actually kind of fun. And then I've been promising myself I'll do something a little bit more fun going forward in 2026. Okay, so if there are any other questions, if there aren't any questions, go right ahead and I will close out this stream. All right, guys. Thanks again. And I guess I'll see you guys in the comments.